Okay, Bismillah. So in the first part of chapter 9, we covered how to deal with, how to determine the location of centroid, center of gravity, center of mass by using integration. And the second part, we'll try to learn how to not use integration basically if we have the case of composite bodies. Alright, so basically the objective is for you to be able to locate the center of gravity or center of mass or centroid using the method of composite bodies. And if you look at any construction site, for example, you might notice something like this where the construction objects can have a cross-section area like this, which is basically combination of two basic shapes. Right? So when we have combination of two basic shapes, we can actually calculate separately and combine. That becomes the composite body basically. Another application which may be possible is if we have a structure that is composed with actually different elements with different weight at different location. So as a whole, it is a composite structure. So that's basically to relate how this concept can be applied in anywhere in engineering application. Now, in terms of the theory, we have covered this one. This is exactly the same as before in terms of how we end up with this kind of equation. But if you remember, previously we had something like this. For centroid is dA, right? If you still remember, this is from the moment, this is summation of force, basically you get the location. So the same concept applies until we get this one. This one is for center of gravity, that's why W. If we have centroid, then we'll have something like this. Now, the meaning is the same, just that this one is when we have some area and we chop the area into elements, and each element have differential area or something like this, and we integrate. This one, if we have something like more like this, and then we have 1, 2, 3, so we don't have integration, we just summation of area, which is essentially the same, right? So if you understand this equation, is basically similar. It's just that this is integration, this is summation, right? So the second one tends to be easier because we don't have to integrate anything. Alright, so this can be applied to any, because when we consider this kind of shape, it's actually a combination of basic shapes. We have triangle, rectangular, and then semicircle, and then we have a whole of circle, right? So many industrial object is actually in this kind of shape where it is combination of basic shapes. It's not where we have to integrate with this curvy, right? Yeah, so this is the context where we mainly apply this one. Alright, this is just to say we can solve with this method. Now for the step by step, the first is you divide the body into pieces of known shapes. So basically you can divide as shown like this also. We divide into triangle. This is square. Is it square or rectangular here? Yeah. Square, rectangle. Meaning all of those basic shapes, right? We have triangle, triangle, rectangular, rectangular. So we first divide the shapes. Holes are considered as negative area or negative volume mass, right? Because we take out that part, right? And then we make a table with the first column for the segment number, the second column for the weight, mass or size, the next column is for the moment arms, and finally. Okay, how many of you understand this? Faham tak ni? Boleh terbayang? Make a table and then those are the columns. Understand? Boleh faham? Okay, and then okay. Now, to relate to this, okay. What we have is, let's say we have a very basic shape like this, right? What we do is we split into two segments, for example, right? And then let's say this is 2D, and then we just need to find what is centroid. Centroid meaning what is the coordinate of that? So we have basically this equation. Right? Until this point you understand, right? Now, the easy way, because it will mostly we will just use the table to make the calculation simple, is that first column will just say this is segment, so that we have basically segment 1 and 2, for example, in this particular case. And then what we need is all of this. So we need an area, so area. We need x and y, so we have x, y. And then we have, this is x, a, y, a, so x, a, y, a. Right? This becomes the column. Right? And then, if you need summation of A is basically this one. Summation of A, right? You just add, if you do element 2 lah. If you have many. So summation of XA is basically this one. Right? Summation of YA is basically this one. And XA is what? Is basically this multiplied by this. Right? This is area, this is X, XA. YA is Y multiplied by this, we get this one. And this one is just add all of these things, right? So that's how you develop your table. If it's 3D, you have X, Y, Z, then X, Y, Z, X, Y, Z. If it's volume, then this is volume. If this is mass, then this is mass, etc. Right? So whatever you need, then you just make a table, and then you can just plug in this, put in here, plug in this, put in here, you get your calculation. So that's basically the meaning of whatever the sentence is there. You make a table accordingly. So understood or ada tak faham? You can understand, right? Okay. If you don't, please ask. Jangan buat faham. Nanti saya tengok pesan depan tak terfaham. Now, then so make sure betul-betul faham dan tak jumpa pula pesan depan. Of course, then you apply the equation, etc. So we'll go straight to example, because in this chapter it's not really, the concept is not difficult, it's straightforward. The only thing that may happen is that you make a mistake. If you understand this table, if you make a mistake here, then this will be a mistake, 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 this, you can see the effect. Right? If you make a mistake here, then this will be a mistake, this will. So that's the thing where, okay, reminder, x and y, what is it? You still remember what is x wave, x and x bar, what was this correct? X wave is what? Okay, in this case it's element, this case is segment, right? But what is it? X? It's a coordinate. So this will be different than if you have the exact same shape, but the axis is here, right? Meaning this one will have a negative coordinate. So those are the things that many in the exam we tend to make mistake here, which means because this one, if you just look at it, it should be very easy to secure full mark. But normally when you make a mistake, something like this, you forgot to make a negative, etc. Or for example, like this, right? You know this is 1/3, but you forget to add this one to get the coordinate, etc. Right? So those are the things that can happen if you never practice. Right? You forgot to do the simple things. So let's try this one. This one is a 3D example, right? So meaning it will be based on volume. So we have 3 blocks. It already divided into 3 blocks. 1, 2, 3. You can see. And then we need to find the center of volume for this assembly, right? So meaning this aspect of volume. Follow the steps. So what will be the column that you think we will have to have? We have segment, then volume, then x, y, z, x, v, y, v, z, v. Right? Okay, let's label this segment 1, 2, 3. For segment 1, the triangular on that side, what is the volume? How do you calculate the volume? It should be the area of triangle times the thickness, right? So half times 1.5 times 1.8. The thickness is 0.5. So you should get some value there. What is the x coordinate of the center of this block? Was it 2? How do you get 2? Cari betul. You calculate the whole length. You understand again what is this? If before we have this is the element centroid, right? In this case, it's the whatever the cube centroid, the volume centroid. So what's the centroid of the x coordinate of the centroid of this block? 2.1. One. How do you get 1? 2. Now, okay, if you look from this perspective, right, you'll have this triangle, right? This distance is 1.5. This distance, right? And we know this is the coordinate where this is 1/3 of this distance, which means it is 0.5. Then how do you get 1? Because you have this thickness here 0.5, making the coordinate is 1. Okay. So you can see where mistake can happen if you are not careful or if you do not understand, right? Make sure it's the coordinate that considering the axis. What about y width? 0.25. How do that? It should be at the middle of the thickness, right? Everyone understand that concept? If it's the thickness, then it should be in the middle, symmetric, right? Z width? 0.1? 0.6. How do you get that? This is 1.8. Is 1/3 of 1.8. Right? This one is obviously calculation. Meaning xv is 1 times this one, yv is 0.25 times this one, zv is 0.6 times this one, right? So that's simply using your calculator. So I assume you know how to use your calculator. Right, normally, if you get this correct, this will be correct. Even though in the exam, sometimes weird things happen. I'm not sure why. I don't know if someone give a calculator untuk prank kawan dia ke apa. Dia calculate semua dia salah. So jangan buatkan bintang itu kat kawan lah. Okay, block number 2. What's the volume? Is basically 2.5, 1.8, 0.5. Do you know how to get this 2.5? Yeah, make sure you also consider from the total line, right? Do not be confused with that one. X wave. XX 0.25. Boleh ke kawan ni? Boleh? 1.5. 1.5. How do you get 1.25? It's 2.5. Half of this 2.5, right? Z 0.9. And then this is equation there. Block number 3, the triangle over the end there. So half times 1.5, 1.8. The thickness is 0.5. X wave. 0.25. Y wave. Correct? How do you get? This one should be 0.5 and 2 and 0.5, right? The whole coordinate. Z? 0.6 is 1/3 of 1.8. So after you have calculated this one, what do we need? We need basically this is okay, it's volume, right? So basically you'll have x equal to summation of x v over summation of v, y equal to summation of y v over summation of v, z equal to summation of z v over summation of v, right? So summation of v is here. You add all these things. Summation of xv is here. Summation of yv is here. Summation of z is here. You plug in, you can get, right? So normally, if this chapter or this portion of the chapter come in the exam, the solution is quite straightforward. You just make a table, fill in, get your calculation, get your answer. Alright? Any question? Okay, question like this. If you cannot get full mark, memang lecturer menyesal aja. Because it's so straightforward. The only way you do not get full mark is when you do mistake, right? For example, you forget to add, etc. So you should not drop points here. Any question? Anyone do not understand what's going on? Okay. But if, for example, you make a mistake in terms of your equation, then that's even more sad lah. Contohnya dah hafal sekarang. Okay, so this will be, meaning if you do, you will get those numbers, right? You can verify. Any question? Faham ya? So it should be. Alright, concept quiz. Okay, how will you divide this area? For example, how many segments? Normally the easiest one is a 1, and then triangle here and triangle there, right? Nak jawab ke soalan ni? Okay, jawab. Okay, a storage box. Okay, just imagine this is a box where this is handle and then this is a force pushing that way, right? Because this is related to the previous chapter actually. So this is the location of the center of gravity where it makes a 30 degrees there. So basically the question says if you push it this way, obviously the box will tilt like this, right? So how much tilt before this tip over? For example, so meaning in the sense that this angle here, what angle here will make this tip that way? From the selection there. 60, okay. Dan kenapa? This relate to the concept from what we learn bahas apa semua tu kan. What will actually make this tip over? Yeah, whenever, okay, if center of gravity is on this side, it will produce this moment, right? Center of gravity on this side will produce this moment. So whenever it goes beyond this line, it goes there, right? So what will make it on this line? What angle here? 60, right? Because this is already 30, so to make it 90, so we have another 60. So power. Attention quiz. Okay, how will you divide the segment here if you have to solve this one? How? For two, how? Two triangle. Betul? Macam itu, dia baginya tu. Okay, I think there's the least number that you can do is this one, right? 1 minus this one minus this one. That's the easiest thing. Of course, it's not compulsory to this one, right? I mean, I think some of you want to, meaning that you have another two like that, right? Is it macam tu kan? Right. So the answer will be the same anyway. It's just that normally we try to have reducing the number will reduce the work, right? Okay. We haven't get any example yet on how to deal with the semi-circle, right? So we'll look for that. Okay. For this one, it says if you consider this big box. Okay, that's the thing. The easiest one is this minus this one, right? You can also get this plus this, right? So it's quite similar anyway. But if you have this big minus this small, for this small box, meaning in the table, when you want to put the x coordinate, y coordinate, x wave, y wave, what will be the coordinate? Where there? B. C. Oh man. Some of you say this one, some of you say this one. Any difference? Ni boleh juga. Lagi. This one. How come? Yeah, it should be here, right? Obviously, remember this one. But I think that this one is just to see whether you're paying attention. Because if you are in a rush, somehow normally we just half of this is 0.5, 0.5. We forgot to add this because the coordinate must be the whole that one, right? So 1.5, 1.5. So I think when you do some exercises, you will notice whether you have this tendency or not to doing mistake. Right. So that's the end. But for whatever reason, I think they do not include other than rectangle and that one. So now several things. One, I think the lecturer have decided, and there are different of opinion, but the majority actually want the final exam to still be open book. So it's not me, saya but the lecturer. So masih ikut je lah. Postpone. That's number one. So if you have your textbook, now there is a table at the back here, right? Things like this, where it will give you things like this. For example, for semicircle, this is you have to know, right? So normally for triangle, 1/3 ratio, and for rectangular is at the middle, we do expect you to be able to memorize, and it's easy to memorize, right? But for this one and other things in the table, sometimes some students can memorize, some students. So we don't expect you to memorize everything. So the point I'm making here is for those who have your textbook, if you bring, you already have the table. But if you do not have the textbook, make sure you have the table from somewhere for the exam. Because normally, previous semester, if you need to use the table will be given in the question. But now when let's say you already bring your own, so apa nak bagi kertas kan? So they will not provide. So you have to prepare with these things. Alright, so that's number one. And let's try an example to see how to apply this one, because this slide only give one example. So okay, if we have let's say let's say we have something like this. let's say you have something like that, right? Where basically this is a whole. Okay, you understand?
Yes.
So this is simple 2D, but then I want to incorporate those elements here, right? Now, okay, because the segment is already okay. Let me put this one. This is number 2, 3, 4, and 5. Right. So if we do the table for this particular case, so you have segment, you have area. So it's 2D, so you have only X and Y. I'm focusing on this because the rest I think you understand how to calculate. It's straightaway mathematical calculation. So just to see whether you can identify these things. So for segment 1, for example, the upside down triangle there, what will be the area? Let's say this is the middle. Okay, well, 1 over 2, 3, right? So you can get value there, 4.5. Okay. What about X wave? For segment 1. Segment 1 is this one. -1. Everyone agree? Betul? Y wave? 2, positive 2.
Yes.
Everyone get the same? Ada yang dah tak faham lah? Straightforward je, right? It's just that if you are not familiar dealing with things that is rotated or something, then you might make mistake there, right? Okay, the rectangular, number 2. Area is 5 times 3. X with 1.5. Y with betul kan? Betul kan? 1.5. Okay, the triangle over on the right there. Area is half 3. X with 6. Y with 1. Okay, 4. This is semicircle. Area is pi r square over pi r square is square, eh? Pi r square over 2. R is 1 here. 1 square over 2. X with 0. Y with here you have to use this one, right? If this is the semicircle, this is 4r over 3 pi. So what will be here? Is it? What you can determine that equation is this one, right? So what will be here? Okay, for R4 is R is 1 over 3 pi. Is this correct?
3 minus.
Yeah, 3 minus this thing, right? You understand why? Because the coordinate is that one, right? So you have 3 minus this one. Okay. What about number 5? The circle there, area? Pi r square, which is 1 square. X with Y? Y with 1.5. Right. So it's not difficult, right? As long as so the only thing that the question can do is try to shift the axis to make sure that you see. Okay, I only realized some mistake here, right? What's the mistake? 2 mistake in terms of the negative.
Minus error.
Yeah, this area must be minus, right? Because this is a hole, right? So those are the things that we understand, but we tend to make mistakes when we forgot things like this. So if I forgot this one, when I do the multiplication here, it will be plus, right? And then you get the wrong answer here. So those are and how you can lose your mark. So even though it's easy, make sure you look back and see if you miss anything. Right. Some might have a habit of making sure there will be this plus this minus this, right? To make sure they remember, right? So if you need to do things like this, just do it. Just take 10 seconds and you will avoid your mistakes. And make sure you also see whatever else you have in the table. Just as long as you know how to refer to the table. Of course, in the table you will have many information, something like this, and also something like this. This one will be going into this in chapter 10. So, and make sure you do not confuse between chapter 9 and 10 later on. Alright, so any questions? So because in the slide that's all that we have. They only give one example, I just add another. Because it's as simple as that. Nak pusing soalan pun dah tak boleh lah. Actually if you macam tu lah senang. The only thing is just okay, make sure when you if the question comes in the exam, make sure you do in the form of table, because the answer scheme will be in that format. It's not compulsory to make table. You can just calculate separately randomly, right? Just do it. But it will make it tougher for the examiner, and you don't want to make them angry. So make sure it's easy to follow. Any question? Anything not clear? With this we actually have ended chapter 9. We will continue with chapter 10 after this. So the quiz, we just finished school chapter 5, 2D tadi. So we have a 3D. And then, okay, what's the time now? So after this, several things. One I will return. I think there's just a few of you that was not here. I'll return your midterm. That's number one. Number two, our next class in Thursday, as usual. I cannot escape yet again. So I was recalled yesterday for the meeting. So it will be again in the format of as before. For those who want to come for the recording session, it's normally today at 5 PM upstairs there. In the class there, yang pernah attend, you know where it is. It's just ujung kat tu atas tu lah. For those who want to see the recording, insyaAllah. Okay, why I'm doing that? Because I hope, I'm not sure how many of you actually view the recording. But I think if you see the recording in this class, it's the lighting is not that good compared to when I do it there, because there's sun there. So hopefully it's more clear. So we'll start chapter 10 there, meaning for those who come this pukul 5, kita akan enter chapter 10. Otherwise you will have the time to watch, because the class on Thursday will not be there. That's number one. So number two, as a result, next quiz will be next Tuesday. So dia akan jadi macam ni lah. Meaning next week. Nanti lagi ke next year? Okay. So quiz online Well, I'll try. Quiz online, I'm not sure how to set the time. Kalau tak, you kena macam tulis, lepas tu sebelum time you kena WhatsApp depan snap. Because if online you just select the answer, you boleh main tembak betul salah kan. You want to see the music. Okay, so I didn't realize that, so tak apalah, tengok macam mana. I also have to check how on track are we because some of your friends have the class on Monday and Wednesday, right? So we have 2 weeks where Tuesday is holiday. So okay, tak apalah, kita tengok macam mana. Otherwise I have to just upload something and bandai lah. Sambil berselak next Maulid Nabi. So sambil selawat tu tengok. Alright, because yeah. Any other question? Yep. Only okay, in terms of the quiz, I think, do you remember what I mentioned in the first week? I think I mentioned normally what I do is I take the best 8 quiz. If you notice, the 2 quiz just now is quiz number 7 and 8, right? So in the next week, what I plan, before I remember next Tuesday is a holiday, what I plan is actually chapter 5 3D, to continue because that one chapter 5 2D, right? Chapter 5 3D, and then chapter 9 integration. Yeah, belum yang ni lah. And then this one will be. So how many more? It's roughly. If we do like that, every segment will have its own quiz. And I try to make it as such so that because for some student this segment is easier for them, some student integration, some student this one, etc. So I want to have that opportunity for everyone lah. Kalau saya skip hanya, if I reduce the number of quiz, meaning either this or integration, it might maybe many favor this one, but some can score more. I don't know. So I try to make everything. So in terms of the number of quiz, because we have one quiz more on chapter 5 if we do everything, and chapter 9 we have 2 quiz, one integration, one this one, and then chapter 10 we can have another 2 quiz. After that we have chapter 6 and chapter 8. Right. We can have a quiz also there. But biasanya yang ke belakang tu chapter dia dah agak susah bagi kebanyakan student lah untuk dapat full mark, compared to all these things, compared to chapter 5 dan chapter ni. So we have 5, 6, 7, maybe around 6, 7 more quiz if we continue, meaning almost every day, every class ada quiz lah. Sebab dah cuti, dia jadi macam Khamis tu lah quiz kan. Kalau Khamis tu saya kena panggil lagi. Mungkin depan tu 4 quiz ke apa. Right, so that's I will announce something in the taklim lah kot, insyaAllah. So aku nak quiz tang ni, tapi tak fair kan, sebab tak semua orang boleh tang. Okay, so that's it I think. What else? Well, hopefully you see the convocation and semangat lah tak nak repeat kan. Okay, we end the session here insyaAllah. Okay, I first I will end the session, and for those who haven't collect the midterm, I'll call their name and they can collect. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, asyhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilaik. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.